Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, it's time, once again, for punishing dumb-ass openings. Got a beauty for you today. Just got up early this morning. It's like, what is it, 10 to 7 now in the morning, nice Saturday morning, and decided to just pick an unrated open challenge. My opponent's rated around 1150. And there's a very important lesson in this one because it's one of those, it seems to be one of those players that has a stock setup that he thinks is very kind of tight and comfortable and conservative and predictable. Okay. But the important lesson is, as you will see, you always have to respond to what your opponent does. Right? There is no such thing as a perfect chess system that you can always just flop out onto the board, right? So check this out. So he starts with G3, an extremely rare opening. This is a King's Fianchetto opening. So basically this is like a King's Indian, probably going to put his knight there. His Fianchetto is bishop and castle kingside. Okay, so already on move one he's informed me of his intention. So I'm thinking, right, we're going to have a bishop on here, therefore I would like that bishop to be looking straight down the barrel of a pawn chain on the light square. So I'm thinking, let's do a reverse London. Put my pawn here. Lo and behold, out comes the bishop. Okay, lo and behold, out comes mine. Right, just, you know, normal development. This is fine, and there's nothing absolutely wrong with this move at all. He's not screwed up yet. Okay, he did telegraph his intentions very early on, but that's okay. It's probably okay at 1150. It wouldn't be okay at 2150. And now H3, which is poor. I mean, the reason is because it doesn't help this bishop at all. It just takes one square away from that bishop and gives that bishop another job, which is, you know, I mean, there are three pieces defending the pawn, but a completely pointless move. It does nothing to help his development in any way. So, E6, carry on, build my own little pyramid. Out comes the knight, out comes my knight. Now E3. Again, this is kind of weird. It's like a kind of, I think it would be the hippopotamus if he put his knight here, right? Isn't it? Something like that. So it's like a variation on the hippo, I think. Out comes my bishop to d6, very normal square in the London. And now he proceeds to go on to do exactly the same on the other side of the board, or he thinks he is. Okay, so I think, bollocks to this, I'm going to throw pawns at him. I'm going to sit there, literally, I'm just picturing myself throwing pawns at this person. Okay, and lo and behold, out comes the other bishop, doing exactly the same thing. I remember an episode of Top Gear where Jeremy Clarkson criticises a car. It's something like a SsangYong or some absolutely awful car. And he says, no, not only have they completely made a complete monkey's breakfast of the design of this side of the car, they've done exactly the same on the other side, which obviously, but it just reminds me of what this guy's doing now. Okay, so I'm going to sit there and throw pawns at him. I'm going to throw all my pawns at him. He says that he thinks he's going to succeed in this game by not even coming up to the halfway line. Okay, I'm going to play all this game. It's like you know, soccer players saying we're just going to pass the ball backwards and forwards between ourselves, and we're never actually going to engage in the game, right? So I'm thinking, bollocks to you. I'm going to come at you. So now B5, right? I throw caution to the wind. A5, right? Now this is not a dumbass opening on my part, right? Look at the squares that I control in my opponent's half of the board, right? All the way to there, all the way to there. That one, yeah? This is called space. This is space, right? Means that my pieces are looking at all of these squares on my opponent's half of the board. That's the definition of space, right? Now he said, I'm not interested in space, I'm going to curl up into a little ball like a hedgehog. So I'm saying, thank you very much, I shall take the space. Okay, And now he decides to start playing chess, okay, and brings out his queen. Oh no, he's attacking a pawn. This is the first threat there's been. This is move 9 of the game. The first thing I've had to respond to. So I think, push the pawn. And I figure, obviously, if he takes that, I can't recapture with my A pawn because rook takes rook, right? But he takes, I recapture with my C pawn instead. And now we've opened up lines is precious. Lines is towards the king side. Ho, ho, ho. And at this point, I decide to, because it's a 20-minute game. Dumbass over here has only spent 27 seconds so far. He's thinking, I'll tell you what, I'll just blitz out all my first moves really quickly. And then I'll start playing chess maybe later on. You know, in my own time. I'll take my time. I decide to goldfish at this point. And I'm saying, okay, well, that bishop's not defended. The rook's not defended. That pawn's not defended. That's defended by that, blah, 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 right? I'm thinking, okay, hanging pawn. Simples, right? So he comes out with a check. I block it with my knight. I was ready for that one. Queen retreats, which she didn't have to do. I grab the pawn, which now means that this pawn is undefended because that was defended only once, okay? He decides that maybe that pawn isn't very important, so he goes ahead and castles and loses another pawn. Now, out comes the knight attacking my bishop, right? And I thought I could have lost my bishop actually at this point. Put the bishop here. Yeah, attacking queen and rook, but he has d3, okay? And now I retreat back and I realised, my worry was that I'd be blocking the rook's defence of that pawn, but the queen is actually defending it as well, so that's okay. So now he develops his other knight, and clearly his entire lovely little neat structure that he had all planned out in his mind for his, you know, retirement is falling apart. I drop my bishop back now. Maybe not the most critical move here because it was pinning that pawn. I just wanted to keep things safe. I'm 2 pawns up, right? I just want to get control of the game. This actually adds a second attacker onto this pawn. It's defended still twice by queen and rook, so I go ahead and castle. He swings a rook over, and now I spot this, right? I think, look, the A and B pawns can just now march up the board, so off we go. Let's go, right? I've got some good defense. I've got a rook here on the A file. I've got a bishop coming up there. You know, the queen could move in. Let's just take advantage of the space now and squeeze him. It's like the garbage crusher scene in Star Wars. Okay, so the knight retreats. And now, boom, the bishop is trapped. Okay, so interesting move. He moves his knight to create an escape path for his bishop, or it can go there technically. But I figure that it's okay to go ahead and take. He takes my bishop. I take his rook, get a queen. He must capture, and bang. And now he's in check, and he can't even get my bishop. So he's 11 points behind in material, and his king tries to run away there. Okay, then we have some fiddling around. Could have just taken his knight there at that point, but I took the pawn. Knight takes, bishop takes, bishop takes, knight takes. Big hint, guys, when you're down in material, don't swap everything off, okay? And now it's just a walk-in, really. It really is. You know, ideally, what I'd like to do would be to get my queen to this square with a checkmate, but I don't see an easy way to do it. So I think rook's in. He starts to come in with his knight with ideas of maybe a check, but it's too late. He doesn't have time to do that. Rook to here. Now, if he'd moved his king, because the queen's on this square, if he'd moved his king to g2, then rook g1 would be checkmate, okay? And I almost, well, I didn't almost, I pre-moved g1, rook a to g1. And then I thought, hang on, but what if he captures with the queen and I pre-move that and then queen takes and material's actually almost equal. So I undid the pre-move, and it's a good job because he did capture the rook with the queen so that he wouldn't be mated on the next turn. Rook takes queen, king takes rook, and then it's just a pretty simple question of converting. I win the knight with a queen fork. And get that, just being sure to double check that it's not stalemate. And it's actually a very simple ladder mate here. And here I'm using these 3 pawns because they are covering all of those squares. And simple checkmate. There you go. So, what did my opponent do wrong? This is the question. Well, I think that he was I don't think he looked at my side of the board. That's the problem, right? Now, maybe he has some kind of trick or something that he plays from this setup. I have no idea. But it seems like he just had his head down, looking entirely at the ranks 1, 2, and 3 only, and completely ignored what I was doing. So here he goes, right? Up at this point, if he'd moved his knight to here, it would have been a completely symmetrical position on both sides. But with moving his queen there, he's undefended one of his pawns, which was under attack. At this point, I could simply have captured the pawn straight off, right? But I didn't. You know, I decided to push on and try and cause trouble. Okay, throws in a check, bit pointless, and he's just not paying attention to his own defence. Right? His king is not castled. Right? You have to take care of your pawns towards the centre of the board when your king's not castled. Now he castles, drops another pawn, and really at this point he's already well solidly on the back foot. Yeah, there's just no real prospects for him from this point in the game. I'm 2 pawns up. All I need to do is castle my king to safety and simplify my way to a win. Okay. In the end, I used Ari and Barry here to cause some trouble and mix things up a bit over on the queen side, but there were lots and lots of ways to proceed here. I still think this pawn here on h3 is looking weak, right? See, at this point, after he's castled and the knight's come out, it is defended only by the bishop. There's absolutely no point for that pawn to be there. Why didn't it just stay on h2? I guess the only idea is that moving those pawns forwards here are protecting these squares from the knights. But the thing is, that unless there's an actual threat, right, you shouldn't be playing prophylactic moves if you're chasing shadow. So if you are reacting to things that haven't happened, okay, play the damn board. Don't play a system. And it doesn't matter what, you know, if you're a London system player, and I know there's a lot of London system players out there, this is especially important for you, right? Do not stick your head down and just automatically push, you know, d4, bishop out, pawn structure, yeah? You've got to respond to what your opponent does. Otherwise, you may find yourself on a punishing dumbass openings video. And nobody wants that. Right, thanks for watching, guys. See you later.